Hi, welcome to Salt City Knits, a podcast about my knitting and other crafting in my life. I'm Emily and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. And today is Tuesday and it's Pi Day. It's March 14th. And I think that maybe there might be spring coming. So that is very exciting. Just a little bit of spring, a touch of it here and there here in Utah to give us hope for the future. Today, the weather is really windy and the clouds are racing across the sky and the lighting keeps changing. And this is my second attempt at recording this podcast. So hopefully it's better. I've been adjusting blinds and lighting and trying to get it to be better so I can show you things more true to life than my first attempt was turning out. So today I have some half-finished objects and some works in progress and a book recommendation for you. But I have to start out by telling you that we had a crazy experience this last weekend. I say we. I wasn't. I was a bystander after the fact, but I still feel affected by it. My oldest son, Ethan, and his wife, Tannen, last week on Thursday to Friday were going off on an adventure. They went and rented a big two-person snowmobile and used that to go through this gorgeous canyon and head up to a yurt to stay for the night and then snowmobile back out. And they were super excited about it. It's kind of a 2-year anniversary and a significant moment in their relationship this year. And they were celebrating and just having an adventure. And things were great on Thursday. The weather was beautiful. They snowmobiled up to the yurt and they had to kind of carve path for part of it, but managed that. And despite being very cold, still had a great time. Didn't get much sleep because I had to keep the fire inside the yurt going the whole time to keep things warm, but still had a great time. But overnight, a massive storm blew in. For anybody who is here in Utah, and honestly, from what I could tell, kind of in the western United States, it was huge. There's just this massive windstorm that came through here Thursday night to Friday. It was just so windy. People, roof shingles getting ripped off and our power was flickering on and off, and then rain and so on. Well, it hit them a lot harder where they were. And as they were trying to leave to get back down, their snowmobile got stuck and ended up in a ravine, and they were in multiple feet of snow. And could not get that snowmobile out and ended up having to try and climb up out of this super steep ravine. Anyway, they got stuck in the snow, and in the rain and the wind, completely soaked. And it was about 6 hours of that before they ended up getting rescued. And it could literally have turned into a worst case scenario. We were oblivious to all of this going on because we did not know what time they were supposed to be back out of the canyon. And so we just assumed they were okay. And the canyon where they were was far enough away from where we are that I didn't really realize that the same storm we were having was affecting them as much. Storms here in this mountainous region can tend to be quite isolated because of the way that the mountains break up weather patterns a little bit and kind of redirect them. So anyway, it's not an everywhere or nowhere kind of thing. So luckily, I'm honestly grateful that I was oblivious to what was happening because I would have just, not handled that very well. They are fine. They are okay. But when they finally got back out of the canyon and let us know that they were back, And then they later called us and kind of gave us the story. It was just one of those things where you just recognize how many miracles had to happen for things to not have been much worse than they were. And just absolute gratitude. Definitely feel like there was some divine intervention there. Angels watching over our kids. So we're so grateful for them being okay. And they ended up coming down to where we live and staying with us and being here for the rest of the weekend, or part of the weekend. And so we got to see them. They were so sore, sunburned, and a little dehydrated, but mostly just so sore, just every muscle in their bodies, because they had to climb through that snow, packing down snow, like army crawl, basically, up out of a like 200-foot deep ravine over hours and hours and hours of time, falling through in pockets. I mean, it was just crazy. So we're really grateful that they are okay. So besides that, this weekend we also celebrated my husband's 55th birthday, and we celebrated. My husband loves to joke that he's beige, that his personality is beige. Not true, but that's just his sense of humor is a very self-deprecating sense of humor. So he loves jokes like that, and he loves it when people participate in a joke like that. So for his birthday dinner, we had all beige foods. Now, he and I had celebrated the weekend before by going away. I think I mentioned that last time, and having a little overnight getaway, but we were celebrating with our kids. And since our grown kids were here with us, and had family dinner together on Sunday. And yeah, we had all beige foods for his birthday, and we put all the food out, and then we all came and sat at the table. You know, my kids were helping me make dinner and stuff and setting the table and everything. And then we called him to the table, and he came in. And, you know, he's just kind of like welcoming everybody. We love to have these really like traditional family meals. And he was like, thanks for being here. And then we just said, honey, look around. And what do you think about the meal that we've prepared? And he just kind of surveyed the table for a minute and then just started laughing. And he's like, it's all beige, isn't it? So it was great. What did we have? Chicken cordon bleu and mashed potatoes with chicken gravy. We were going to do cauliflower, but I didn't have any that was good. And so we did corn. Anyway, just things like that, so that it all was pretty much the same color on your plate. And he thought that was awesome. So that was great. And it was so good to have the kids all together, and just, it's actually the best thing. My favorite thing in the world is when all my kids are here, even if they're all off, like, because my 4 children, they really love and enjoy spending time together. And my son and my daughter-in-law, they are so great. So they will, all 6 of them, they'll just get together and they're playing games or just talking, or, you know, playing video games, or, you know, so board games or video games or whatever. And just hearing them all laughing and talking together, even if like I'm in the other room, I still just love that sound. It just makes me so happy. So all right, so let me talk to you about I say half finished object. I finished one of each of these things. So first off, I have finished one of my new Wasatch socks. So this is one of my new patterns that will be coming out soon. And it's a cabled sock with this cable panel that runs down the front. Let me open it up so you can see. That's how it looks. I really love it. It's just, it gives you almost kind of more of a textured feel or impression. And I really enjoy that. I'm trying to, again, show you close up, but without it blowing out the color again. I say again. Yeah, see, it blows out right there. It's all about the lighting today. It's just how it is. This is knit top down, cuff down. And this pattern will be available, I don't know exactly when, in the next couple of weeks here, but it will be available in 5 sizes ranging from 56 stitches to 72 stitches in circumference. And I really love it. This was knit in the Spruce colorway by Candy Shop Yarns on her Simple Syrup base, which is a, let's see, what is it? I think it's an 80-20 merino nylon base. Let me double check. Yes, 80-20. So this is Spruce, Simple Syrup in 80-20. And that's what the yarn looks like. I love it when you're knitting from a skein of yarn or a cake of yarn, and it starts to get very cone shaped. So I'm really loving that. And I've started on the second sock. I'm not very far into it. I'm knitting this one in the 68 stitch size. Right there, that's how much I've got so far. And it's going to be these are going to be for my daughter, Abby. Yeah, but I'm really pleased with that. Now, again, this one is coming in 5 different sizes. So you could actually even do it down to a size 48. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But I'll come back to that, because I want to show you the other one I've been working on. So I had shown last time this pattern, which is my Clover Springs pattern, sock pattern, which has this, let's see if I can show it, this kind of twisty, meandering texture to it. And each foot goes a different direction. So you can see this one twists this direction and this one twists this direction, so that your left and your right foot are a little bit different. Those look different colors. Again, just the lighting. So I had shown this one before. This is a fingering weight pattern, and it was only going to be in the 64 stitch size, which is generally the most kind of common size that people are knitting. But I was thinking about it, and I decided to do it in a DK weight as well. And so this is the DK version, which is a 48 stitch pattern, a 48 stitch size. And that is coordinates with the 64 stitch. So it's the same size as the 64 stitch in a fingering weight. And so that just made me think that you could totally do this in a DK. You could do the same pattern. Now I'm considering doing that. Okay, one thing at a time, Emily. I have too many possibilities in my mind. This is part of my personality. It's like all the things all the time. You know, we could do this, we could do that. I literally think I can do anything for like 5 seconds until I actually really consider it logically and realize you can't do everything, Emily. Okay, so we'll just do this one for now in DK, but I might have to experiment at a future date with that one in DK. I knit this also in Candy Shop Yarns, and the way I did it was I held 2 strands of fingering weight together to get that DK weight. This colorway is, oh, there we go, blowing it out, is Neapolitan. And this one is Heartthrob. And these are both also on Deborah's Simple Syrup base. So let me show those to you. So let's see, Neapolitan Ice Cream specifically. That's this one, is this yarn right here. Isn't that just the prettiest? It's so very chocolate strawberry-y. So good, I love it. So that's that one. And then the contrast is Heartthrob. And I like how those two look together a lot. And so I just held the 2 strands together, but you could just as easily use a DK sock yarn. I think the biggest difference is when you're knitting DK socks is to make sure that you're still using a yarn that has nylon or silk or something in it to give it that extra strength to prevent them wearing out. And so I had these yarns already on hand and was able to put those into, just hold them double, and that worked out really well. Candy Shop Yarns does carry a DK sock yarn that is a merino nylon blend, so you could use that as well. So again, both of these patterns, both Clover Springs and Wasatch, should hopefully be out in the next couple of weeks. I'm just in the process of writing up, finishing the printed pattern, and then I need to finish this, the other socks so I can get photos of everything. So hopefully I'll have all that knitting done by next week and just be finishing up the written patterns. I really love it though. I love a good textured sock. And this one is all just using knits and purls to do that pattern. Wasatch is cabled. I did my cables without a cable needle. They are 2 stitches over 2 stitches, so 4-stitch cables. And I feel really at home and comfortable doing that without a cable pattern or a cable needle. But you could totally use a cable needle as well. So those are the ones that I've just finished up. And I was going to talk about this sweater. See, that's what happens when you record a second time. You forget what you've already discussed. So I am wearing my Sipila pullover. Let's see if I can adjust things a little bit here. Maybe. So you can see it better. This is Sipila. The pattern is by Caitlin Hunter. And I knit this a few years ago, and I knit it in Yarnberry Yarns, which is my yarn company that I used to have. This colorway is called Not a Tame Lion, and this purpley pink is called Once a King or Queen, and both are from my Narnia. I had 2 Narnia collections. This was from my Narnia Vivid collection, and I really love the color work on this. It's so fun. I don't wear pullovers really often. I just don't find them flattering on me, probably because I haven't found the right length or fit. But on my body type, I haven't really enjoyed them. But I like to wear this one with a skirt. And so I'm wearing a skirt today, so it works out great. But I thought I would share that. And also my earrings are so fun. They were made by my son, Ethan, and they are chainmail scales. And they've just matched perfectly. I had these before I made this, and then the connection was not something I made until, I didn't think about these when I was dyeing these yarns or selecting them from the sweater or anything. But they match perfectly. It's so fun. So whenever I wear this sweater, I always wear these earrings. It's fun. Okay. I am not going to show my cardigan today because I have made progress on it, but it's hard to tell. It's just at that point where it's the widest point. I finished all of the raglan increases, but I haven't yet divided for sleeves. I need to give it a little bit more length. And so you just can't see it. It's all crumpled up on the needles. So I will show that hopefully next time. But I wanted to show you my fragmentation shawl. And I am in wedge number 4. I wish I had had more time to work on this last week, but I've been knitting socks a lot. So here we are on wedge 4 out of 7. And isn't it just so pretty? I know I kind of rhapsodize over this every time I show it, but I can't help it. I'm so in love with it. It's just so gloriously feminine and squishy and fun, enjoyable to knit. It is a delight. Many of you have commented something about how Stephen West patterns haven't really been your thing. I totally get that. He has a very kind of, what's the right word I want to find? Because I really admire it. He has a very fearless way in his designs. And I think sometimes if you have a really fearless way, it's not necessarily going to have a general appeal. Not every pattern is going to appeal to every person. But I so admire that fearlessness that he has in designing, because it means that he comes up with all kinds of cool things. And some things are stunning. And something is going to probably appeal to almost everybody. I can tell you what appeals to me about this pattern. I love the fact that at no point do you have 980 stitches on your needles. This is the most stitches you have at any given point. And I don't remember what it is. It's 100-ish or 90-ish, somewhere in there. Very doable. This is your widest point at any given point in your project. That's the most stitches you have on your needles. And so it's just popcorn knitting or potato chip knitting, you know, the kind where it's just one more row, one more section, one more wedge, and you just want to keep going. Second of all is how many different ways I have seen people adapting this pattern. He designed it with 7 different colors, and every color is appearing in every wedge, and they're kind of stepping or even almost spiraling through the different wedges. So whatever color would be here in wedge 1 ends up here in wedge 2, and then here in wedge 3, etc. Right? So it's kind of stepping down. And yet you don't have to do that. He gave everybody a coloring page to kind of design your own. The other thing I love about Stephen West, if you've ever knit any of his things, like for example, his knit alongs, and his videos that come out with them, that he kind of shows you how to do each section. And I love the way he's like, and if you have a stitch or more, or a stitch too many at any given point, don't worry about it. You can pick it up, or just don't worry about it. This is what's important. And then he'll point out, make sure you have the right number of rows this way, or whatever is the most important thing in a given project that you're working on. And he just has this very like relaxing, like dig in, try something you've never done before kind of attitude. I love that. So that fearlessness in developing that in your craft is really fun. But this is where I am. I'm using fingering weight 100% Surrey alpaca for the cream color sections. And then I'm using scraps for all my colorful sections. And I can tell you now, having weighed all of, for each of the stripes, that your smallest section here and even here are under a gram. And then about here, it turns into probably 1.5-ish, right into about 2. And by the time you get to this one, which is, there's still 3 more colors to go. We're at 3 grams. So you're going to be probably 3.5, 4, and then 5 grams by the end. So if you want to do a scrappy version, you really can use scraps. I mean, you really can. The biggest pieces you're going to need are 5 grams for if you're knitting one like mine. I have chosen, there are 21 stripes in each wedge. So I am starting and ending each wedge in the undyed or main color, if you will. And then I am doing, so there's going to be 11 stripes of my main color in each wedge and 10 of my scraps, which means we'll need a total of 70 scraps. Although I am repeating lots of these, you know, some of my scraps were full mini skeins. And so I'm repeating a lot of these. They were either minis or they were partial skeins, but like this one, this was a 20 gram mini. And I've put it in 3 different times and I still have that much left. And at the tiniest points, this itty bitty scrap, that'll do that littlest wedge. If for some reason I ran out on the last row, I'll just stick another little scrap in there. I have done that one time before. Most of them, everything else other than once, right here in this pink stripe, I ended up using 2 pinks to make this pink stripe. But in everything else, I've just used 1 yarn in each stripe. So anyway, I would highly encourage a scrappy version of this. How fun. But I like having the main color throughout, and instead of stair-stepping, all of my main colors are lining up. And that, I think, is giving me a cohesive look. So it's not just complete and total mayhem. Mayhem, but gentle, delicate, feminine mayhem, right? That's what I'm going for. Oh, I love it. It's so pretty. And it's just the squishiest, most wonderful thing. Just think how big this is going to be. Here's my center section. And yeah, the wingspan, here we go. It's big. It's big. I've talked about this on every episode so far, so I know that maybe you are bored with that, but I am certainly not bored with it. I adore it. And I'm really looking forward to when I can kind of zoom my focus in on that and my sweater. But I am just really trying to get those sock patterns finished up. I would really like to get them ready. I think that as we get to the warmer months, a lot of us kind of tend to turn to smaller projects for our knitting. Not everybody. It's just they tend to be more portable when you're running and outdoors a lot more, and you don't necessarily have something big and, you know, fluffy and large sitting in your lap when it starts to get hot. So we tend to, I think a lot of us, to go to those smaller like accessories and things like that. So I'd like to get those ready. All right, so today I'm doing something a little different for my book recommendation. And I'm just laughing at myself last time for completely forgetting about it. I said at the beginning I was going to give you a book recommendation, and then I totally forgot when we got to the end until I was literally editing later that night and went, how did I miss that? So that's okay. It'll keep for another week. But I had a few of you who commented and asked about my books. And so even though it's like so out of my comfort zone, I wanted to share with you one of my books today. And that one is called A Light in Dark Places. I co-authored this with Jennifer Graves, who's one of my best friends. And I'm just going to read the back to you. It says, in December 2009, this is a nonfiction, this is a memoir. In December 2009, Susan Cox Powell was reported missing from her home in West Valley City, Utah. As law enforcement tried to piece together what had happened to Susan, her husband, Josh Powell, became the only person of interest in her case. For Jennifer Graves, Josh's sister, the nightmare started long before Susan's disappearance. From her experiences growing up in the Powell family to the terrifying moment when she first started to believe her brother was a killer, she relied on her faith to stay strong. She devoted herself to the safety of Susan's boys, Charlie and Braden, whom she hoped to be able to raise as her own. When the boys were murdered by their father in February 2012, Jennifer was more than devastated, but she had to believe there was a reason for it all, including the deaths of her beloved nephews. In A Light in Dark Places, Jennifer shares her struggles and her triumphs. In coming to terms with such tragedy, she finally was able to embrace the truth that we all have the power to choose our own path, and there is always hope no matter how dark things may seem. So this book is from Jennifer's perspective, and we started writing it not too long after the boys were killed, after Charlie and Braden were killed. It took us about 1.5 years to complete this book. I was a primary writer, and Jennifer it's her story, but I was the writer for the book. And I'm so proud of how I really feel like I captured Jennifer's voice in it, and just the amount of impact that I think this book has already had. We were able to donate lots of copies, and we still are, and are willing to donate more if anybody has a request, to places like Chainbreakers Foundation, for example, or women's shelters, in places to help people see that they can break the generational cycle of domestic violence and abuse. And we have had a lot of feedback about that being inspirational to others. So I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of this book. It is available on Amazon if you are interested. And if you read this book and are interested in more about Susan's case, Susan's body has still never been found. So yeah, we still are looking for answers. But if you would like more, I would also highly recommend the Cold podcast. It's an audio podcast. It's a true crime podcast that is done in an amazingly investigative and respectful way. And each season covers one case and goes in depth into that case. And they're all three are ones where, well, I can't say that. I actually haven't listened to the most recent season. At least the first two, both are crimes against women. And so I just have been really impressed with that podcast. We published this. I cannot believe this. I realized that this, when I just got this book out again, that it is 10 years. It will be 10 years, I think was it May or June that we released this book? I think it was June. So I can't believe that it's been 10 years ago. But anyway, not an easy topic, but I think that we handled it in a way where we were able to share the hope and the power that you have to overcome situations, even horrible situations that have been created by somebody else in your life, but that you still have power in any situation. You still have the ability to make a choice to make your life better. And that is what Jennifer has done in her life. And it's so funny. I keep saying Jennifer. To me, she's Jen, but she's Jennifer here on this book. But that's what she has done, because while the rest of her family, her father, her brother, very likely her other brother, have all taken the path of evil, Jennifer is amazing. She is a bright light, and she wants to advocate for anybody else who has had to break those chains. And she wants to make sure people know Susan's story. And yeah, so anyway, I'm really proud of this book. I can say it was the hardest thing I've ever written, for sure. It was the hardest process of researching it and kind of having to delve into the darkness to tell the story and make sure I was getting it as accurate as possible. But I'm so proud of it. So anyway, that's A Light in Dark Places by Jennifer Graves. And I have it as E.G. Clausen. So that was my pen name. And again, I'll put a link to that book in the description box below, along with links to patterns or yarns or other things that I have mentioned. And yeah, I hope next week to be back with finished sock pairs. That would be great. I love knitting socks. And I have to say, I loved knitting those DK socks. They just knit up so fast. It's so much fun. And I will see you next week. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope some spring finds you. When we're back next week, it will be the first full day of spring, or the spring equinox. Anyway, it'll be spring. It will be officially spring according to the calendar next time I record. So that is so exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. Have a great day. Enjoy your knitting, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye-bye.